Clapton and George Harrison shared a legendary friendship, but there was a moment when their bond was tested by a furious phone call from Harrison. In a recent interview, Clapton recounted how he once played an early version of the White Album for friends in Los Angeles, unaware that this would enrage Harrison, who was fiercely protective of the Beatles' unreleased material. The incident occurred after Clapton recorded the iconic guitar solo for While My Guitar Gently Weeps, a track written by Harrison. At the time, Harrison was frustrated that his fellow Beatles weren't taking the song seriously, so he invited Clapton to play on it, adding an outside touch to command their attention. Following the session, Harrison gave Clapton an early version of the White Album as a token of appreciation. Unbeknownst to Clapton, this gift came with an unspoken expectation: absolute secrecy. However, while in Los Angeles, he excitedly played parts of the album for his friends. "I wasn't thinking about the fact that this was still completely under wraps," Clapton admitted. "It was unreleased, and the Beatles were incredibly protective of their material." Word of Clapton's actions quickly made its way back to Harrison. The usually soft-spoken Beatle wasted no time in expressing his anger. "Suddenly I got a phone call," Clapton recalled. "It was George, and he was absolutely livid. I mean, really angry. He shouted at me down the phone saying, 'What the hell are you doing playing our album around town?'" This rare outburst from Harrison left Clapton stunned. "It was the first time I had ever heard him that furious," Clapton admitted. "I was pretty wary around him for a while after that. I felt terrible about it. It was a stupid thing to do, and I completely understood why he was upset." Despite this rocky moment, their friendship remained intact. Clapton reflected on how Harrison, despite his occasional temper, was also deeply forgiving. George was someone who could get mad, but he also had this deep ability to forgive. "It took a little time, but we got past it. I think he knew I never meant any harm," he said. Looking back, Clapton sees the incident as a lesson in just how seriously the Beatles took their work. "It reminds me of how much they cared about their music. They weren't just making songs, they were creating history," he said. And George, despite being the most laid-back guy most of the time, was fiercely protective of their work. In the end, the bond between Clapton and Harrison remained unbreakable. "George was like a brother to me," Clapton said. "We had our ups and downs, but we shared something really special. Even after all that, we still played together, wrote together, and remained close. That's what really matters in the end." Their friendship endured through personal struggles, professional triumphs, and even Harrison's passing in 2001. Despite a moment of anger, their connection remained one of the most iconic in rock history, defined not by conflict but by mutual respect and admiration.